Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. It's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. Glad to be here. I don't know if that video played, so you know what? May have to restart this so we can get that going again. You know what? We'll edit it in. How you doing? Welcome aboard. Glad to have you here on this Wednesday. Still getting through this wintertime blues, but that's how it is, man. It's how it is. What are you going to do? But the temperature's going to be kind of fluctuating here in the next few days. So we got to make sure everyone stays healthy, doesn't get sick. But other than that, I hope everyone's doing well. Lots to talk about today. Looking forward to it. Dylan Sinn, Kyle Neddenriep, and Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us. Some things coming up. That begins this season with the college football playoffs. Availability reports are due by 7 p.m. Central Time, 3 days prior to each playoff game. And players will be listed as either available, probable, questionable, doubtful, or out. Now, that's prior to game day. Once you get to game day, the 3 designations, you're either available, you're a game time decision, or you're out. Still, I don't know what that really does, but we'll see. AP basketball poll, or the basketball poll's out, period. AP poll has Arizona at the top still. The coaches poll has Michigan. Been a while since we've had some disagreements at the top. So kind of fun to see that, actually. But it's interesting because I think that there's an argument for both, especially now as we've seen these polls. It's they're further from the accuracy that they used to have, but for basketball, not nearly as difficult because it doesn't take as long to see how a team is coming along, how if they're getting better or not, as opposed to football. It takes a while, and it takes longer for the football teams to get better. It's a different sport altogether. So Iowa State moved up to number 4. Yep, they look pretty good. Funny, man, Iowa State, aren't they always just looking good out there in their being in a Big 12, not being in a massive program, but yet they're always rolling along, competing. So everything played fine on good to hear that. I couldn't hear it, but who knows? But availability reports, and the best of all abilities that a player can have for his team, you know what the best ability you can have? Availability. Nothing beats availability, people. Kurt Cignetti has won his 2nd straight AP Coach of the Year award. And then again, who else could you give this to? Now, Clark Lee of Vanderbilt actually won the Football Writers Association of America's Coach of the Year. And here's the thing. Did he have a Coach of the Year? Yes. Yes, he did. Absolutely. But unfortunately, he had it in a year that Kurt Signetti went 13-0 and won the Big Ten at a school that, is doing things that they've never done and some things they haven't done in 50 years. So, no, you don't get it. It's a cute story, but it doesn't beat the best story. It doesn't beat the best coaching job. They try to spread things around when a lot of times when the Heisman Trophy winner is pretty apparent, like it was this year, usually you see some of the awards get split around a little bit. The Davey O'Brien the quarterback award would have gone to somebody else. Not this year. Pretty much they all went to Fernando. And this is the Football Coach Writers Association. That's the only award I'm aware of that Signetti didn't get National Coach of the Year wise. So, curious. We'll see. So, yeah. Can't have them all, but, and I'm not arguing it. Like I said, there's an argument to be made. I mean, what they did was stupendous, but, or maybe they felt like they better give it to a Vanderbilt's coach or Diego Pavia might come riding in on his Shetland pony and cause some havoc. Have you seen a lot of the little, I didn't even mean that. It was an accidental pun. There's a bunch of reels that I've seen put out on social media. One is Diego Pavia got arrested in New York partying, and then you see the officers escorting a handcuffed person that is greatly height challenged. Let's say that. I did see some other video that was posted that he bought a sign that said F Indiana. It's just, dude's got to grow up. The NFL, you would think someone who wants to be a professional football player, I'm assuming, would have some cognizant sense of the fact that every year when it comes to the combine and all this, these GMs, they interview these quarterbacks because their mental makeup is part of what is important to the quarterback position. Do you think that this has escaped them? It's everyone else in the free world has seen it, but yeah, crazy. What are you going to do? Hey, Nebraska, hoops, rolling. How about that? But questions for Matt Rule. Dylan Raiola has hit the portal out of Nebraska. His brother decommitted a while back, so you knew something was amiss, let's say, and don't know quite what's going on out there, other than, obviously they're not, didn't have the greatest season again. And I think that might be the deal. Because am I missing something with Matt Rule? They've just been like in spin cycle at Nebraska. So now he's got to go out and get a quarterback, which that's not that big of a deal, and probably going to be best for Nebraska. But again, that's quite the opposite situation for Indiana, where Indiana's going to have people are going to be beating the doors down to be the heir apparent at Indiana. And that's a good thing. It's what you want. I also wonder who is going to be that guy. Well, that's a good conversation. Who's going to be the guy that does come in? A lot of people thinking Fernando Mendoza, and I'm like, I think he's going to be a fine quarterback for Indiana. Just I don't think it's going to be next year. But we'll talk about that more. Dylan Sinn's going to join us next. from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Before I forget, hey, go to thehoosier.com. Subscribe. Support those that support you. That's how the content comes to you, people. Really appreciate it. And you go into the drawing for the grand prize giveaway, which is worth over $400. I mean, there is some really cool stuff in there, man. So go to thehoosier.com. Sign up today. Appreciate you very much. We got lots more coming up. Dylan Sinn is up next. We're back with all of that and more right here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have you along.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Joined now by our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Dylan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, as always, Jim.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. Several things, but the Big Ten, Nebraska. It's just hard to not just talk about Nebraska. If you look at the Big Ten basketball standings right now, people, what you will see is Nebraska. They're at the top. There's a big 5-way tie at the top. Nebraska's listed first because they're 11-0 overall. Michigan is 10-0 right now. Michigan State 10-1, Purdue 10-1. Then you've got teams like UCLA, Illinois, and Iowa, then Indiana, and those kinds of teams. But it is wicked at the top.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun at the top of the conference. I as a voter this week, I ranked Nebraska 11th, I believe. They are 14th in the actual poll, which is the highest they've been, or 15th in the actual poll, which is the highest they've been since 1991, if I remember correctly. So huge start to the year for Nebraska. Price Sandfort, brother of former Iowa Hawkeye Peyton Sandfort, has been really, really good for them. Really good player. I mean, they beat Wisconsin by 30 last week. 90-60 was the final score in that game. So, and then they went and beat Illinois as well on a last-second three-pointer. I believe that was at Illinois. So, really, really impressive start to the season for them. And funny to remember at the earlier in the season, a game that hits one of those teams that kind of started the season out winning several games against teams that weren't very good and seemed to have gained confidence from that. I mean, they played Kansas State, and they needed a last-second shot to win that one. They beat Kansas State 84-83. So it is one of those things where they seem like they've gained confidence in what they're doing as the season has gone on, and they're playing with a ton of it right now. Really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, it is, and it's just another team that is added to the top of those Big Ten standings that you're going to have to look at. Like I listed: Nebraska, Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, UCLA, Illinois, and there's, I think, USC. They're 10-1. So there's 7 teams that are 10-1 or better right now. That are just going to not go anywhere. And then I don't know how many teams are going to be what I would call middling teams, like Indiana is a middling team, Iowa's a middling team, that are going to be fighting for the bottom part of, I think maybe the Big Ten gets 9 teams in, maybe. Well, there's pretty deep. But the problem with that depth, once you get to that 7, those 7 teams are going to beat the crap out of everybody. And then there's going to be a bunch of fighting within. But that middle ground there, 8th, 9th, 10th, is going to be a fist fight to get in. But I see Indiana and Iowa and teams like that will be Ohio State. Didn't even mention them. Oh, I mean, half of the league is better than average or better. That's pretty stiff.
Yeah. No, I mean, it does seem like it's kind of returned to where it was 4 or 5 years ago. The Big Ten seems like the best league in the country, right? At least the deepest, and I think probably the best at the top too. I think that's the thing with the Big Ten, is that there are a couple of legitimate national championship contenders at the top. And then, as you said, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams that could legitimately make the NCAA tournament. So I do think that that's a little bit different than it's been in the last couple of years, when it seemed like maybe there was maybe one team that had a chance to make an Elite 8 or something like that, and then a bunch of teams that could make the tournament. I think this year the league is really good at the top and also very, very deep. I think that it's kind of returned to where it was 2018, 2019, where they were among the best leagues in the country, if not the best league in the country. So after a couple of down years, this is the Big Ten back to where it expects to be just about every year.
Yeah, and Indiana, or Fred pointing out that Nebraska lost former Indiana high school player Connor Esigian to the season-ending injury, which I hate seeing that for anybody, but so there's that. May the Schwartz be with you. Spaceballs. They can't complain. Indiana football will be successful for years. We'll get to that, but that's something that I either mentioned or was talking about somewhere along the way. But it's Indiana. And now Indiana, we've seen that they're going to struggle against good teams. And there are a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. I think it's going to be a battle for Indiana to finish in the top 9. I really do. They've got to continue to get healthy, which they have not been yet this entire season. But their lack of depth, even when they are healthy, will still show up in areas. And so they're going to have to do more. They're going to have to overplay. They're going to have to make up for this lack of rebounding with better rebounding effort. It takes effort. Rebounding is one of those things that's a skill that you work on. You're not accidentally good rebounding or good rebounder or a good rebounding team. Guys that are good rebounders, they work at it. They have either a knack or a skill, and Indiana has to find a way to blend that into their offense right now. I think the offense is what it is, and it is solely built on scoring, which obviously that's the goal, but you also have to have scenarios for what if that shot doesn't go down? Where are the guys? You cannot have a shot going up and nobody else within 10 feet of the rim. That's just not going to work.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's something that has to be constantly worked on, right? Like Indiana is a smaller team than a lot of teams, but that doesn't mean you can't be a tough rebounding team, right? Like you're probably not going to be a good rebounding team, but you can be a tough one, I think, is the distinction I would draw. And so and they were not a tough rebounding team against Kentucky. That was
well, and actually they not to interrupt you, they out rebounded them, Dylan, but they got crushed on the offensive end of the board, and that is what just destroyed them.
Right, and that's the thing. Like the box score can lie to you a little bit, right? Like if you watch that game, they didn't rebound well. Like they won the rebounding battle, but as you said, they got crushed on the offensive glass. There were just games where it just didn't seem, or there were shots where it just didn't seem like they were working that hard to get into good position, and they need to do a better job of that going forward. I think it's something Matt Painter has said it a lot over the years, is that you work on rebounding every day, and you've never arrived. If you have a great rebounding game, that does not have any bearing on whether you're going to have a great rebounding game the next game. You have to constantly work on it, no matter how good you are. And Indiana's not very good in that area, so it's something they're going to need to work on all season. They're going to need Sam Alexis to be really, really good. He is the guy on that team, on that front line, that is the most physical. They need him to be a 6'7" rebound a night guy, minimum. Because unless he's gonna play 30 minutes a game, which they need him to be more. And so we'll see how that goes going forward. But that is kind of the number one area, or one of the two areas of concern for this team, is how good can you be at something you're not very good at right now.
Yeah, and they need a third guy because they don't have. God, how do I say this? I don't want to be critical. Not the goal. Tucker DeVries is as good running mate for Lamar Wilkerson as you'd want, but he hasn't quite been there at times when Lamar, like at Kentucky, Lamar gets into foul trouble and things are not. Tucker was okay, but wasn't able to just really stand up. And you need another guy that you can count on for that. And it wasn't there for Indiana on that day. And you're not going to win games like that. But again, that game was lost on the offensive rebounding end and turnovers, period. Just look at the points Kentucky managed to get, second chance points off of those offensive rebounds. It was a massive number. I had it yesterday. And then you add the 18 turnovers Indiana committed, and it was Kentucky managed well over a point per turnover. I forget what it ended up being, but it was a big number. I think it was over half of the total score. So there's your ball game right there. It had nothing to do with shooting or anything else. Indiana shot the ball very well at the free throw line. I can't remember what their 3-point numbers were. Neither team shot the ball well there. But the game could have been won.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they to your point, they got outscored points off turnovers. It was 23-6 in favor of Kentucky. Indiana turned the ball 18 times. It turned the ball over 18 times. Kentucky turned the ball over 4 times. So, like, that's the thing, is Indiana was turning the ball over, and then on the other end, it wasn't creating turnovers, which tells me that they were not up to touch on defense the way they need to be. They were not connected on defense the way they need to be. They weren't in passing lanes the way they need to be. And if you're not going to be getting turnovers, you better darn well turn and make their possessions into one shot. And they weren't doing that either. So Kentucky had vastly more shots attempted than Indiana did, right? Like, Indiana shot a lot of free throws in that game. I think it was 29. Kentucky shot 38 free throws. And of course, Kentucky helped by missing a bunch of them, but they shot 39 free throws. Then they took a bunch more shots to the field too. Like, if you're not going to rebound well and you're going to turn the ball over too much, you're not going to win many basketball games, especially on the road. And so, yeah, they had opportunities to win that game. They led for the first 3 quarters of the game for the most part. And then Kentucky just said, all right, we're going to play now. And they figured it out, and they got it done down the stretch. Indiana, when Lamar Wilkerson went to the bench, Indiana did not have anyone else to step up. And they need better from Tate and Connerway. I think that when you're going to turn the ball over like that, like, your point guard needs to step up and say, all right, we are going to get a good shot on this possession. I'm going to run a set, and I'm going to make sure that we get a good shot. He wasn't able to do that in this game. And there have been a couple of games this season where he's turned the ball over too much. I know he knows that that's a problem. There was a game a couple weeks ago. I think I can't remember which game it was. It might have been the Kansas State game. But he came into the press conference afterward, and no one asked him about turnovers. He had turned the ball over several times, and he walked out of the press conference, and he said to the room at large, "Thanks for not asking about those turnovers." He knows it's a problem, and he knows he needs to be better at it, but they need him to be better at it because they don't really have another option to run the point.
Yeah, and not only that, he's not the scoring option that I thought that he might be and that Indiana actually needs. And it's not a knock on him, just again, because Indiana is limited, man. They've kind of boxed themselves in with the personnel that they have just because they're, it's pared down. They just need more. They need some of these guys to get healthy. And you're still waiting for that. And then once they get healthy, it's going to take them a minute to get into game shape. So they're going to have to continue to bet. This is adversity they're going to have to continue to deal with. And in once Big Ten conference play starts, it's something that they're going to have to deal with night in and night out, especially when you get on the road and even at home. Teams are coming to win, man. These wins are at a premium, and this year especially. Normally the Big Ten champion Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with us has, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 losses. With as stiff as the league is this year, it lends you to think that that's going to be a higher number this year. But every time we do, somebody manages to get through there and navigate it like that. And you're like, damn, how'd they end up with just 5 losses? But can that happen as tough as this conference is this year?
I mean, I think it can. I think Michigan is on that level where they can do it. Like I have not seen a team this year that is going to beat Michigan when Michigan is playing even its B+ game. They are really, really darn good. And so I think that they have a chance of going 15-5, 16-4 with a couple of games where they're just a little bit tired. It's one of those times where it's like 3 games in 5 days and they're exhausted at the end and they lose. But I don't think they're going undefeated. But I do think that they are probably only going to lose 4 or 5 games in Big Ten play max. I think Purdue could do it partially because I think Purdue is really good, but also because they have a relatively favorable Big Ten schedule. We kind of talk about that now because the conference is so big. Some of these teams have relatively favorable schedules, and Purdue is one of those. They don't play a team that's currently ranked until I think like the middle of February. And so it is one of those things where maybe they play Nebraska before that, but it is one of those things where Purdue could win a whole bunch of games in a row before they have to play Michigan. Michigan State, I'm not sure if they can run through 15-5. They're really talented, but there are just nights where they don't quite have it. So we'll have to see. But they're a veteran team that knows the grind of the conference, which really helps. So I think they're on that level. I think those 3 have probably separated themselves a little bit from the rest of the pack. Although Nebraska, again, as we talked about, really, really good. I guess we'll see how it goes for them in the grind of Big Ten play. They also have a veteran team. But it is a possibility they could get into that category as well. And maybe these teams all beat up on each other. But yeah, I do think that the winner of the conference will probably have 15 or 16 wins would be my guess.
It'll be interesting to see. Hey, before I forget, for our listeners in the Bloomington area, if you're living there or traveling there for whatever reason, you got a kid in college, Dave & Buster's will have specials for all IU games, including the Rose Bowl. 10 wings for $10, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas. It's a great place to catch a game with friends or the family. You can do both. They've got 3 gigantic large wall TVs and over 20 plus gigantic TVs in addition and audio equipment. Plan your next watch party at Dave & Buster's. Sunday is fun day with half price games. All kinds of stuff coming up. Look forward to working with the peeps at Dave & Buster's here in Bloomington. We've got lots more coming up. We're glad that you're with us. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette along for the ride so far. We've got more coming. We're going to talk about football, the CFP this weekend. Games up, Dylan Sinn. Who you got? We're going to find out who everybody gets to play with the winners and the losers going home. Back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me as well. And this weekend, we've got games coming up, Dylan Sinn, football games, the determining games to see whom those teams that received a bye will play. Teams like Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Let's see. Texas Tech has extended 3 of their coordinators, by the way, but the schedule coming up this weekend, who you got? First of all, you've got the teams that are playing that Indiana is going to play. That will be determined by Oklahoma and Alabama. Then every year, Dylan, it's like, wow, number 1 didn't exactly get the easiest ride here. I think that they need to make sure they're looking in the future, because it happened last year as well with a different setup. Ohio State, their draw was having, or Oregon rather, their draw was having to play Ohio State in the game, in their first game, which ended up being the national champion. And yeah, it's something I think that maybe they have to look at. But got the schedule up this weekend, man. Who are you liking? What are you thinking? Who do you think is going to come out of these matchups? First of all, I got to make sure that we're on. There we go. Get that on the CFPs, dummy. The first game up Friday night, Alabama and Oklahoma. That's who Indiana will play. The winner goes to the Rose Bowl. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting because we've already seen that game, right? They played during the regular season. Oklahoma won 23-21, and yet Alabama was the better team in that game. They outgained them by about 200 yards. Alabama turned the ball over a bunch of times, and that was kind of the difference in the game. But they moved the ball okay on that Oklahoma defense. So I think Alabama wins. Usually you favor the team that lost the first one in the rematch, especially in this case when Alabama, I think, was the better team in that game. Oklahoma doesn't really have a big win all season where it feels like they were the better team. Like they beat Michigan. Okay, I'm not really impressed by that very much. And so I do think that Alabama wins this game. I think that they're maybe a little bit healthier than they were at the end of the regular season. They still can't run the ball very well, but I don't think they're going to have to in this game in order to win. If you just take care of the ball, Ty Simpson plays a B- game, I think that's good enough for Alabama to win this one, basically just off of pure talent. I don't think Oklahoma is quite as good. They really, like if you've watched Oklahoma this season, they really struggle to move the ball because their quarterback, John Mateer, is talented, but he's kind of on his own back there. They don't really have a run game to speak of. Their receivers are just okay. And they have a really good offensive coordinator who kind of schemes things up for them. But and Ben Arbuckle, the guy from Washington State, but Mateer is more of a let's run around and make something happen guy than a guy who's going to play in structure. And so I've seen some kind of breakdowns of Arbuckle is scheming some things up for him, and he's not exactly seeing it the way that you would like. So I think that Oklahoma has a tough time moving the ball. I think that Alabama probably wins, and they go to the Rose Bowl to play Indiana. The thing that I would push back on a little bit is I think these teams it's a pretty decent draw for Indiana. I don't think either of those teams, despite the names on the front of the jersey, despite Alabama and Oklahoma being names that you're scared of, generally speaking, I don't think that's a particularly difficult draw for Indiana. What would have been much more difficult had they done what they should have done and put Miami at 9th and Alabama at 10th, right? I think Miami's a better team than Alabama is, but they didn't do that. They got a little bit lucky. Indiana did. And so I think we'll see Alabama come out of there. I think we'll see Indiana, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, which, boy, what a game that would be for Indiana to be able to kind of, along with beating Ohio State, kind of stamp themselves and say, hey, we are a real boy football team. We're going to go beat Alabama and move on. I think they would have a very good chance to do so.
And the first thing that we have to always remember is Indiana is going to be the favorite, or should be, no matter whom they're playing here. Yeah. Let's not forget, get off of the name Indiana, and that includes me or anybody else, that if they're playing Oklahoma or Alabama. Indiana is the number one team in the country. Indiana has the number one defense. Indiana has all those positive things going. But it's about matchups. And what is it about the matchup with either of these teams that you like for the Hoosiers?
Yeah, I think number one, it's the Indiana's the more complete team, right? I think that no matter who they're playing against, both teams have had a lot of trouble moving the ball toward the end of the season. Alabama was a really good offense at the beginning of the season. Ty Simpson was a Heisman Trophy contender. He was really, really good. He was it was him and Fernando for a lot of the season of who's going to be the first quarterback taken in next year's draft, because Ty Simpson was frankly making a lot of NFL quality throws. He hits tight windows. He moves in the pocket. He seems to know how to play in structure. And as the season went on, he kind of regressed, not regressed a little bit, but he plateaued. I think this is his first year as a starter in college football. Maybe he hit a little bit of a wall, and maybe he'll find his way again with a little bit of a break here between the SEC championship, which was December 7th, and the playoff game, which is December 19th or December 20th. That's a fair amount, or December 19th, I should say, for them. So it's a fair amount of time. Maybe he'll get a little healthy. Maybe he's banged up a little bit. Maybe he'll find his rhythm a little bit again. But he was not nearly the same quarterback in the final 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season and the SEC championship game as he was during the first part of the season. He was really, really moving the ball, really slinging it around, really had a lot of buzz, Heisman, and draft. And so we'll see if for Alabama, if that improves. But without that, they're a pretty pedestrian offense. They can't run the ball very well at all. If Simpson's not playing well, they're not going to be able to utilize those receivers who have been good this year, but not as good as I think people think. Ryan Williams for them, superstar last year, kind of burst onto the scene as a true freshman, has been really inconsistent this year. He's been awesome in some games. In other games, he drops the ball. He doesn't get open. He's kind of an invisible man. Sometimes it seems like he's in the doghouse. So we'll see what happens there. They have not been a very consistent offense recently. And then their defense has not been great most of the year. And so we'll see how that goes. That's Alabama. I think Alabama is the better of the two teams. But if you get into Indiana, Oklahoma, I don't really know how Oklahoma's going to score in that game. Like that if Indiana gets 13 points in that game, they probably win it. And so maybe it's a low-scoring game like Indiana, Ohio State. But I think Ohio State's offense is a whole heck of a lot better than Oklahoma's is. And so I would think Indiana could hold Oklahoma, barring any kind of like pick six or something like that, which Oklahoma's defense is capable of. Indiana could hold that team to 6 points or fewer. And so we'll have to see. I do think Indiana would certainly be favored in both games, and I would pick them to win either way. They might be favored by a touchdown against either of those teams, depending on how it goes in the first round game between them. So we'll have to see. I think Indiana is a more complete team. As crazy as I know that sounds crazy, Indiana a more complete team than Alabama or Oklahoma, but it is absolutely true. And on paper, Indiana is better than both of those teams, and not by a small margin.
Oh, I agree, and congratulations, great job for stretching there. But I think Indiana's the most complete team in the country, or at least they were with Stephen Daly. Without him, I don't know, maybe Ohio State slips back in front of that category, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I agree with you. Indiana is the better team, better offense, better defense by far. And that you hear defense wins championships. And so that's why I wonder, can Indiana win the national championship without Stephen Daly, as much of a presence as he was? I mean, every time these big wins Indiana has had against, whether it's against Oregon or Iowa or Penn State or Ohio State, havoc has been caused to their quarterbacks that they haven't seen all season long. And a big part of that was the guy who had the most tackles for loss in the country, Stephen Daly.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely true. I think it's a great point. What I would say, and you obviously can't do this forever, right? It's not possible. But I would say that I thought the same thing when Kellen Wyatt went out, right? I thought, boy, what are they going to do without Kellen Wyatt? He was so good off the edge for them. And the answer was, well, they're going to put Stephen Daly in and make him play more snaps.
Yeah, but the thing is, he had 7 games to grow into that position. That's the concern.
That is absolutely the concern. And I think that the next guy up at that position is probably Daniel Ndukwe, who is a true sophomore, right? Like, he's not. Stephen Daly is a veteran player. He played at Kent State for several years, and he already played at Indiana for several games. So I think it's a little bit different. I think you're absolutely right. But I do think that Indiana has done a really, and Bryant Haynes this year has done a really good job of finding innovative ways to create havoc, right? Like it has not just been, well, we have these super talented edge rushers, and we're just going to let them go, and they're going to win most times against the tackles. That hasn't really been the case. A lot of the pressure that they create has been schemed up by Bryant Haynes. That's not to say that Stephen Daly and Kellen Wyatt and Mikael Kamara are not terrific players, because they are. But a lot of the pressure, especially against Oregon, that Indiana had, was schemed up. It was rushing guys that didn't seem like they were rushing at the snap, dropping guys into coverage. Remember, was it Tyreek Tucker? He dropped into coverage on one of on a snap against Oregon. I remember that. Like they do a really good job of disguising what they're doing at the snap and finding a way to get pressure with 4, despite it not being the 4 that the offensive line expects when the play starts. And so we're going to need to see Bryant Haynes, now one of the highest paid coordinators, maybe the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, going to have to earn that money with Stephen Daly out. Absolutely. That's absolutely true. But I think if there's a coordinator in the country that is capable of making that happen, it's him. And so I think we'll see. He's going to have to put together, like, the Ohio State game was his masterpiece, right? That is one of the best offenses in the country, has been all season. 2 absolutely spectacular receivers, a quarterback many thought was going to win the Heisman. Indiana shut him down. 0 touchdowns on long drives. And that was his masterpiece. I think he's going to have another masterpiece every round that Indiana goes in the playoff. Now, if they play Oklahoma in the first round, he's not going to need that kind of masterpiece, I don't think. I think Oklahoma is going to give Indiana a lot of rope there, where they can just say, well, all right, you're down a player. We can't really move the ball anyway. I think that's probably the most likely outcome, which is why I would favor Indiana pretty heavily in that first matchup. But then you get into games like maybe Oregon or Texas Tech, right? Those are 2 really darn good teams, either of whom could win a national championship. And Indiana's already played Oregon and they beat them, but playing them again without Daly would be tough. And then you get into maybe Georgia or Ohio State. If you win that first one, that's tough, right? So we'll have to see. But I do think that the loss of Daly is significant. You're right to point it out.
Oregon is the team that, if I were a fan, I would be uber concerned of, for a couple of reasons. you're playing them twice, so they have a ton of film of you two playing each other, which is way better than film of you playing somebody else. But they're going to scour that without question. They're going to see what did not work for them the last time and be able to make those changes. They're a team that has been knocking on the door of a national championship. And, they're one of the teams that could be the third different Big Ten team to win it in a row, as could Indiana be. Boy, I don't know that I like that matchup for Indiana, to be honest with you, although you're going to have to play good teams no matter what. I kind of hate that they're playing a team that they've already played.
And not necessarily.
There is something.
Yeah, like
Go ahead.
there's not a guarantee they're playing Oregon, right? Like Texas Tech is a real boy football team, and Texas Tech could beat Oregon. Like I am not dismissing that possibility at all. Texas Tech is very much like Indiana, where you have to get rid of the name on the front of the jersey from your mind.
I'm not thinking that. I see them as. I just think Oregon is. I just think Oregon is a team that is kind of. They're pissed. They got beat at home by Indiana. They last year, boy, their train got derailed by Ohio State, and by God, now they're not going to have another Big Ten team do it to them again. But they've got to play Texas Tech first, like you said. Who I agree, they're a good team. But how about that matchup?
It's one of the best in the whole field. Like we'll get to that later because it's a quarterfinal, but that is one of the best matchups in the whole field, and I am really looking forward to that if we do get it, because Oregon has to beat James Madison first, which I assume they will do. But boy, that is a heck of a game. Like that is why the playoff was created, to get the number 4, number 5 team playing against each other for the right to face number 1. That's really exciting. It's a lot of fun. And those teams are really, really good. Texas Tech has one of the best, maybe the best defensive line in the country. For as good as Indiana is at creating havoc, Texas Tech is at least as good, if not better. And I think they could give Oregon some real problems. Dante, we saw that Oregon offensive line has been really good all year. Indiana caused issues for them. I would expect Texas Tech to be able to cause at least a few problems for them as well. David Bailey coming off the edge is one of the best, maybe the best edge rusher in the country. Romello Height on the other edge is fantastic as well. So watch for those guys. Like that is going to be a real matchup for Oregon that I'm not even sure that they'd be favored in. I think it would be probably 1.5 points maximum in either direction. And we'd have to see, because Texas Tech, other than a game where their quarterback was hurt and they lost to an 8-4 team by 4 points, they haven't really even been tested this year. Like they've beaten everyone by huge margins. They beat BYU twice by 4 touchdowns. They beat Utah by 3 touchdowns. Those are real teams, and Texas Tech just blew them out of the water. So we'll have to see. But I am fascinated by that game. If you look at the bracket and tell me that chalk is going to take place for the first couple of rounds here, I think Texas Tech Oregon is maybe the game I'm looking forward to most in the quarterfinals.
And speaking of, we only have 4 quarterfinal games. You would think for a national championship, with there only being 4 quarterfinal games, that all 4 would be must-see TV. But how the system is currently set up, and I don't mean it as a knock to either Tulane or James Madison, but game 1 on Friday, Alabama, Oklahoma. Game 2, first one on Saturday, Miami, Texas A&M. Then you've got Tulane, Ole Miss, and James Madison, Oregon. Boy, those are not exactly going to knock the TV ratings out of the park.
No, and the reason for that, I think, is mostly it's not the playoff setup. Frankly, this year it's the ACC's setup, because Miami is the best team in the ACC, right? Miami is easily the best team in the ACC, and if their tiebreaker system had not been all messed up, they would have been in the ACC championship. They probably would have beaten Virginia very easily, and then they would have been the ACC champ, and then we would have had Notre Dame in the field instead of James Madison, right? Like Tulane would have been the G5, and there would have been an extra spot available. Notre Dame would have been the 10. We would have Notre Dame, Texas A&M, a rematch which would have been fantastic, because that first game was a banger. And then you would have had Alabama at Alabama 8. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. it would have been Notre Dame, Ole Miss in the first round, which would have been a lot of fun too. It would have been Notre Dame at 11 and Ole Miss at 6, and you feel a lot better about that game. Notre Dame going to Oxford to play an Ole Miss team that doesn't have a coach, right? Like that's a game where the storylines write themselves. And so I think it's less the playoff system that was at fault this year, and it was the ACC being like, we don't really know how to create a tiebreaker that makes a whole lot of sense. And having a conference that's way too big that we have like 5 or 6 2-loss teams that didn't play each other that forced us into this problem. So they have talked about, hey, we're going to change our tiebreakers a little bit. But that I think was the flaw in the system this year, where the best ACC team did not win the championship in the ACC, and so it created this logjam where we ended up getting 2 G5 teams in, which is almost never ever going to be the case. It just happened to be this year, and so I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of, well, everything needs to change with the system. I think this year was just kind of a fluke, and there was absolutely a chance to get better teams in there if Miami had been able to be winning that tiebreaker, but they weren't. And so we get 2 G5 teams, which is not the worst thing in the world. Tulane and James Madison are great teams, right? Like I don't think either of them is going to win that first round matchup, but those are great teams, and it's fun to have them in the field.
Yep. And I can't wait to these games. Now, it would be amazing if there were upsets, but then that would really change things around, because then you'd have, say, James Madison with a shot at moving on. And again, I'm not knocking James Madison if they do that, great, or Tulane, but it's just Tulane, Ole Miss, the winner of that, you've got a team with no coach, like you just said, against Tulane. Boy, which also only has half a coach, because Tulane's coach is off to Florida at the end of the season. Summer all's gone. So Georgia's got an easy path to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this should have been addressed in the hierarchy of the setup. And it's not. And that's what I'm talking about. They just throw stuff out there and let it play out. I'm like, whoa, that's not how it should play out. You need to go and work it backwards.
I do think that part of it is that they probably should.
And I shouldn't have let you go because we've got to hit a break, but
it's okay.
10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's one of the things is that they probably should have dropped Ole Miss behind Texas A&M, and that would have created, first of all, no Texas A&M, no a rematch between Ole Miss and Georgia in the second round if Ole Miss wins, and then better games in the first round as well. So I think that was probably the mistake they made. Could have been easily fixed, but what are you going to do? The committee isn't infallible.
Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on, as always.
See you, buddy.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along for the ride. Appreciate you. Hey, for those of you in the Bloomington area or coming to Bloomington, Dave and Buster's, great place to go catch a game and play games. You got both. You can take the family, take the kids out there, or just go out and meet friends because they got you covered. They've got a bar as well to watch games. As a matter of fact, 3 gigantic wall TVs in addition to over 20 plus big screen TVs and audio equipment. On the Rose Bowl game day, you can get 10 wings for $10, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas. Great place to meet up with friends and family, like I said. Sunday is fun day, half-price games. So, great place. Go hang out with the kids, with the peeps, watch the games. We'll have some watch parties there. Set up a watch party, birthday party. Great place for all of that. They're at over by the mall here in Bloomington. How's everybody doing? Looking forward to getting on with Bill Bender today, as he'll join us a little bit later from the Sporting News. Talking more about the college football playoffs as the games are this weekend, man. And the determining factor of who is going to play next. Indiana's next opponent determined this Friday night. Ironically, Indiana played in the Friday game last year. A little irony there, huh? My, how things have turned around. Last year, they were the offering for Friday, so to speak, offered up with a road game in very tough conditions. But not the case this time around, as they'll be playing out in the friendly confines of the Rose Bowl, where Indiana has experience. I'm not saying that matters a lot, to be honest with you. But that they have been here, this team, not everybody on this team, but, a good portion of them, they've been out there. They understand of making that long trip. They've been to Oregon, went out and won. They're going to have to do the same thing again, change it a little bit. There's going to be a few extra things that they have to deal with as far as obligations and media obligations and this, that, and the other thing. But and speaking of which, we got to meet with Fernando Mendoza the other day, and talking about all the different things that he's doing. Can you imagine all the media he's done just since winning the Heisman? That is crazy. I'm going to try to pull this in, so it's going to jump in there, but I'll have to pull it back out.
Of course,
so give me
I imagine it's been a crazy couple.
And then I'll get that thing settled up to about to where it's supposed to be, and we can pull Fernando in. And I asked him, kind of a funny question, but I asked him what was tougher, recovering from the Big Ten championship game, or say a night on the Times Square with his teammates. With all the recovery that you've had to do from the games and whatnot, what's tougher, recovering from, say, the Big Ten championship or a night in Times Square with your offensive line?
That is a great question. However, I will say the linemen and there's defensive players there, offensive skill players, there was a lot of people there. They're both recoveries for sure. However, we know how to handle ourselves at class. You never get obliterant. We always have a good time, and we stay within we can always control ourselves. And then that's one thing with us is it's always a good time because we control stuff, and we don't need all that extracurricular stuff, if you get what I'm alluding to have a ton of fun. We all just have a lot of fun with each other. So it's more about feeding off of each other and having a good time. However, I will say the recovery from the weekend of the sleep has been a little tough because it was bang, 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 bang. And I was so overwhelmed by emotion the entire week, meeting all the winners, having an opportunity on the media to shout out my teammates, and then ended up winning the award. It was a little bit of a mental recovery now, believe I'm in a good state right now, where I'm humble and I'm hungry right now for the college football playoff.
There was Fernando Mendoza talking about the recovery of just doing all of the things he's had to go through, like I've talked about. I mean, no doubt it's a lot of stuff when you think about it. It's nonstop. I can tell, and if you watch that video again, it looks like he just woke up. They just got in late that night before because they had a lot of other responsibilities to do for the Heisman and winning the Heisman. So all kinds of stuff going on. Someone made a comment a minute ago, said that they've seen more than one NFL draft expert say Fernando should come back for his senior year. He's not ready for the bad team he's going to get drafted to. Who? Show me one expert, respected expert that said that. Show me two respected experts that say that. Number three, who are the experts? The general managers of the NFL teams or whomever is listed as an expert? Because these mock drafts come from conversations with NFL personnel. They're not just thrown out there willy-nilly. You think Mel Kiper Jr. is not doing research? You think he's not talking to NFL guys? Give me a break. Nobody that has any credibility is saying Fernando needs to return. I will never say it would not benefit him. I would say that a lot about athletes, but I don't think that anybody's saying that about Fernando. It's not like he's uber young. He's very poised. He's very intelligent. So I'm sorry, but I find that very, very hard to believe and would love to see who. Yeah, I see you put experts in quotes. It doesn't matter who. Who are you talking about? I mean, you're calling him an expert. I'm not. So who are these quote unquote experts? I've not seen that anywhere personally, and I find it funny. Jamie says Urban Meyer was one that mentioned he should return. Well, he's not an NFL GM, so it's why should he return? Here's my question. Now, if you're an Indiana fan, it's almost that you can't answer that question because you're going to answer it in a way because you want to see him back. And it would be great for Indiana, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of guys that should stay longer. Again, I don't think I disagree with that. But with the climate, the way it is, you go when the chance is there. Look at Drew Allar. I mean, there are so many examples. He would have been a very high draft pick. I'm not saying this is going to happen to Fernando. Fernando is a way, way better quarterback. And actually, it's funny because Drew Allar was the quarterback, I think, that was ranked ahead of Fernando coming out of high school. And Fernando said he was looking forward to playing him and did not get a chance to do that, number one. And another bit of irony, Fernando Mendoza was offered a preferred walk-on position at Alabama. He was going to be in the quarterback's room at Alabama, and guess what he was slotted to be right now? Ty Simpson's backup. He would be playing against Oklahoma. No, he'd be playing for Oklahoma as a backup right now against Indiana if they made it without Fernando. I just find that irony. I was reading a story where I learned that, and my favorite line is, Fernando threw away his opportunity to back up Ty Simpson. Yeah, he's talked about his road being unique and different. He was a 2-star recruit, man. He didn't get offered P. Ford's opportunities, preferred walk-on. So, again, for Diego Pavia to use that as his excuse, yeah, sorry. Doesn't fly. Doesn't fly, people. Yeah, he's going to get thrown to the wolves with the offensive line. Jason says, go to a team he can learn to be a pro being a backup. That's what you'd want. That's preferred. It's hard to make that happen. It's hard to manifest that, because if you are the best, what would waiting a year, how would that change? If you're still the top quarterback coming out of the draft, the worst team is going to have the opportunity to draft you. So I don't know how that changes. It's unfortunate, because there's virtually every other position in football you're fine with being a rookie and all of that, even possibly starting, not a quarterback, man. Ooh, yeah. You do have to learn behind somebody. But I cannot imagine that anybody is going to plan on Fernando Mendoza being their starter next year. Nobody. I would find that beyond comprehensible. Everybody could benefit from going their full years in school. Don't think I disagree with that. I'm just talking about the practical side and the reality of the situation. I'm looking at it from through reality glasses. Reality is, if you're a top 5 pick, you're gone. Of course you could benefit. Who couldn't? I tell you who's going to benefit is Alberto Mendoza. He will have 4 or 5 years of being under Kurt Cignetti. And he will also have had the opportunity to learn behind Curtis Rourke, his brother Fernando again, and whomever I think the 5th year guy that they bring in for next season, because that's what I think will happen before Alberto takes the reins for the following season or 2. Then you would have him for 2 years. So, and in that process, Indiana start its development program with whomever's in the pipeline now coming up behind Alberto. So, yeah, of course it'll do you good to avoid the Jets. Okay, but what do you all think is going to happen next year if you're the number 1 pick? Do you think you go to the Super Bowl champions? Not how it works. It works the same way. The worst teams get the top picks. Is next year's worst team going to be better than this year's worst team? I don't think so. Usually isn't, but yeah. Again, I'm not saying he would not benefit. Who wouldn't? But I am talking about from a reality standpoint, practicality. It's just you're going to go if you're top 5. Has it happened? I think that there's been a time or two, but I don't see that being the case. Indiana would love it. Russell says you don't think Manning ever played for a New York team. Yeah, he was able to make that work. Does Fernando have the same leverage that Eli Manning had? That's something else you have to look at. And I don't know how that would play out. No, you don't want to go to the worst team in the league. You don't want to go to the freaking Cleveland Browns. The worst thing in the world you would want to be is a quarterback drafted to the Cleveland Browns, because that is a ticket straight to hell. Andrew says, will the Colts trade up for Fernando? They don't have a trade to trade up for. Then they traded away. I think that they've got rid of that. Fox Sports Ralph Vicario, I missed that. Where'd they come back here? Says the NFL scouting director told him, I'm not sure I see a franchise quarterback in this group. Maybe one, but even that could be a stretch. Oh, I'm not saying he's a franchise QB, but it is what it is. Hey, let's take a break. The great Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us next. Looking forward to it. As always, back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this break.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along as always. And Bill Bender from the Sporting News, one of our favorite friends joining us here. Make sure you go to the Sporting News and follow all of Bill's content. He's got some great stuff out there, including the picks for these quarterfinal games coming up to see who's going to play whom, including the first game up will determine who the Indiana Hoosiers play, Oklahoma. Bill, how are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing well. All right, now I'll go right off the top and ask you, who do the Indiana Hoosiers prefer to play, is your sense? Who would you rather see out there in Pasadena?
I think I've seen a couple things. I've seen people want to play Alabama because they played them once, and that was back in the 20s. And just to see that another opportunity for Indiana to take on a brand, I think would be good for the program. But Oklahoma is a big brand. So personally, Kalen DeBoer for me, because I'll get to have him on the show next week. And I think would be an interesting matchup, and the irony that would be there, Kalen DeBoer having been here a few years ago, and now to where both Indiana has risen, he's risen, just crazy stories. But I don't know, I think that defensively, neither team has what they need to stop Indiana. And I think Indiana defensively can stop both of them. So I think it's 50-50. If I were picking, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, I think both would be interesting matchups. From a perception standpoint, though, seeing Alabama in Indiana in the Rose Bowl would be very cool. I'm wondering if somebody would have to wear a white helmet instead of a red one in that game. The color scheme out in Pasadena would be great. Same with Oklahoma, honestly. I mean, they have the same color scheme as well. I do think Friday night, if you're an Indiana fan watching that game, you're going to see a defensive slugfest. And I've tried this line a couple times this week. It's Christmas movie season. We watch the same movies over and over again, Die Hard, whatever, Christmas Story, etc., Home Alone. But is this going to be the same movie? Will Alabama not be able to run the ball again? Will they have 3 turnovers again, like they have the last 2 meetings against Oklahoma? And if that recipe unfolds again, then the Sooners will be the winner of that game, especially with that home field advantage.
Yeah, and that matters. That's huge. But last year, I guess I should have looked and to see because of the first 4 bye teams last year, they all lost. We know. What did all 4? I think all 4 home teams in the first round won last year, didn't they?
Convincingly, yeah. I think the margin of victory last year was 19.3 points per game, and I remember being on the field.
But the only one that mattered was Indiana because, well, that's not allowed.
Right. Well, I got you. But I was on the field for the Ohio State Tennessee, the ending of the game, and Rich Clark was out on the field, the college football playoff executive director, and I remember him saying another blowout, but he didn't seem worried about it. And here's why: if we have the first round is what it is, but if we get these quarterfinal matchups that I'm talking about here, if we get Oregon, Texas Tech, is anybody going to complain? If we get Georgia, Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin, is anybody going to complain? It doesn't matter who plays Indiana. That's a compelling matchup to me out in the Rose Bowl. And then I kind of, as you know, here living in Central Ohio, I kind of want to see Miami, Ohio State. I want to see Miami win that game somehow so we can relive the absurdity of that championship game that they played many years ago. And it would show that the U have arrived on some level. I'm looking at both of those teams this week, Jim. Alabama and Miami are 18 to 22-year-old kids that have been told they really don't belong to be there by some people for 2 weeks. So I think that heightens their sense of focus. I think Miami will play well down at Kyle Field.
Yeah, some 2 compelling games, and then there are 2 that I don't want to say they're not compelling. They have their own storylines, but very interesting when you have Ole Miss, who's going through the coaching situation deal, and their opponent, the same thing. This is crazy. You've had one coach that has left, and who is he still the interim coach? I think he's been named a head coach now. And then you've got not an interim coach, but a coach that's leaving. It's college football it's a crazy thing, man.
Well, Friday night, even, Kalen DeBoer, there's still a lot of rumors about Michigan with him. And I think Michigan is at least going to make that call, whether or not Kalen says.
How do you not?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, with the candidate pool that they have right now, it really comes down to 3 names. It comes down to Kalen DeBoer. It comes down to Kenny Dillingham. I will get on a soapbox about something real quick. I don't like that we have to trap these coaches now. Like Kenny Dillingham, a lot of his press conference bites are coming, and he's given non-answers about going to Michigan. I wish we could be more open and honest about it. Yes, what
is he supposed to say? That's what I hate. I'm like going, come on, people. What do you want him to do here? I agree with you. That's not fair.
We have to do our job, though. We have to ask the questions, and they did that down at Alabama. But like when Kalen has to say on Twitter or X that, hey, I want to be – now he came out a little more forceful with that. But I think most coaches should be able to have the freedom to say, listen, I'm focused on my team right now. We're going to coach this season, and then we'll entertain options for next season because at the end of the day, it's his life. I think Dillingham's the one they're kind of going to zero in on if Kalen says no, and he's a very interesting candidate. It's a big jump, though, isn't it, from Arizona State to Michigan, or is it?
Well, that's true. We don't know. We've seen guys make jumps that looked big but weren't. The sport is different, but it is a better fit for Kalen DeBoer, I think. He's a northern guy from South Dakota. He did what nobody should ever do: follow a legend. Because there's nothing you're going to do is going to surpass that unless you won 8 national championships. So, and he did it at a time where college football got flipped on its ear. So everything has changed. I don't know. It's going to take so long for the Alabama. Well, not really. 12-0 season will take care of anything. We've all seen that, but I just think that it is a better fit for him. he doesn't want to leave. I know he doesn't want to walk away from that situation, but at the same time, if it's better for your future, and I'll tell you who needs it worse, Bill, is Michigan. Michigan needs it worse for a couple of reasons, and not just because he's a great football coach, he's a great person. And Michigan is not exactly leading the world in putting out great people right now.
Couple things on Michigan. When your athletic department has gone through 2 NCAA investigations that I've been on the air consistently, I said the hamburger one, I was like, that doesn't really bother me. Yes, it's impermissible, but it didn't. The sign stealing, that overtook an entire season. And then everything that happened with Sharon Moore last week, it just showed that there's a lack of accountability in that athletic program on some level, and they have good people in that building too. I've been around a lot of them. They do, but they need to hire somebody as far away from the Jim Harbaugh tree as possible. No Jesse Minter, no Jed Fish. I think Kalen, like you said, I was around him at the Eddie Robinson banquet a few years ago when he won at Washington. And here's my funny story about that. We looked up his baseball stats from college, and he hit like 500 something, by the way, in college one year. And we're like, how? Like, my question was like, how? And he's just real humble. Well, I guess I was seeing the ball well. I was like, I'll say, like, I mean, did it look like a beach ball or what? But humble, family man. His daughter, his wife was with him, and they, all walked out together. And he was so humble. And like you said, I think fit does matter in certain cases. He would definitely fit what Michigan is and what Michigan needs. There's no question.
And it would actually be worse for the SEC, because I think he would be a good fit in the Big Ten, and that would give the Big Ten yet another team that's not dominating right now that could join the party of Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon and whatever else that revolution is going to be. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's so many storylines all the way around. And do we actually secretly like this stuff, Bill, this craziness that is college football, where coaches are possibly leaving while their teams are in the playoffs, and we've got players that are in the transfer portal, and we know who these guys going to be leaving? And do we secretly just love all this drama?
Yeah, it's what makes the sport so special in some ways. We love Lane Kiffin, leaving for LSU and then coming, and he's going to go right back to Ole Miss in week 3. We love dysfunction. We don't love the Sharon Moore situation. I didn't, at least. I mean, because that became an inappropriate relationship turning into a potentially really serious situation, which it was, that could have been much worse. I don't like situations like that. We love arguing about players, teams, and all that stuff. I see some comments in here about James Madison. I think on Saturday, I do have something to say about that. If they get blown out, your timeline will be, why are they in the playoff? Why couldn't they compete? Why are they even here? Nobody says that about the 15 or 16 seeds in the NCAA tournament. We turn the channel. I think the problem with Saturday night is we've got to watch that in a 3-hour block, especially if Oregon's beating them like 45-10. And
there aren't 15 other games on at the same time to dilute that.
When Duke or Kansas or somebody's beating the 16 seed, we can change the channel. Just be like, oh yeah, they're in the second round, green marker, we move on. If James Madison wants to compete in that game, they're going to have to be able to run the football. They are relentless doing that. Wayne Knight's been great. Their quarterback's been good. If they cannot run the ball early against that Oregon front, it could be a long night. But this is the Cinderella version for college football. I think Tulane and James Madison are on the spot more than anybody else, honestly, Jim, because if they don't and they get hammered, like I said, your timeline is going to be, I could be watching Notre Dame, or I could be watching Texas, or I could be watching Vandy, whoever. Not necessarily looking forward to that portion of the evening.
I talked about that earlier. I said, 2 of these games are compelling, and 2 of them could be bad. And with there only being X number of games, this is not like the NCAA tournament where there's 1,000 games per day, no less. There's only 4 of these. And with that, all 4 of these should be compelling, at least from a matchup standpoint. Now, there's nothing to say that those can't be the two damn best games of the day.
Right.
We don't know that because that's why you got to let stuff play out. But, of course, maybe it's being hypocritical to assume that they won't be. I can't say that. James Madison they've achieved a lot. I'll be honest with you. I'm super impressed with what Chesney has done there because Signetti left the cupboard bare. Took the coaches, took the main players, and boom, you got to start over at James Madison, not at Michigan, not at Auburn, James Madison, and pretty damn well into the CFP. That's pretty amazing. Of course, that's also why he's moving on to another job.
Yeah, and that is a program that is kind of, when you see the ones that jump from the FCS, it's like App State when they came up. It's like they know how to play football. It's just then you get your footing in a new division. It's harder. You take some blowouts, but man, they didn't miss a beat, and they've been a great story the last couple of years. The other game, Tulane, I'm interested to see. Yes, I know Ole Miss beat them 45-10 the first time around. I know Trinidad and Kewan Lacey ran all over the place. But what is the tangible difference with not having Lane on the sideline? You can't measure it before game. You have no idea. How do the players respond to Pete Golding versus Lane Kiffin? In this game, they'll probably be fine, but I like the way Tulane competed in the American Conference Championship game. I think they will attack this game differently with John Summerall, even though he's kind of done it the air quotes right way, going to Florida afterward, but you can tell he hasn't lost that team. So I'm interested to see how Tulane competes. Can they keep it close? I don't think they'll win, but when you have a 17-point spread, the other part of this we have to mention is the NFL not getting out of the way. Putting Eagles Commanders there, putting Bears Packers, which is a huge game in the NFC North, opposite that Oregon James Madison game. Basically, the way my living room's set up anyway, that generally would mean that the James Madison game goes to the second TV. You know what I mean? You want to be on that first TV, the big TV, not the small one in the corner.
Exactly. Like Dave and Buster's. You want the wall TV, baby. You want the wall TV. So, all right, your picks Friday night, you got Alabama and Oklahoma. You've got Alabama winning that game 22-17.
Yeah, I do. I again, heightened sense of focus. I think they're going to run the ball a little bit better. Ty Simpson and John Mateer have not played well the last month. So again, if you're watching from an Indiana standpoint, both of those quarterbacks have had a less than 60% completion percentage in their last 4 games. So Ty Simpson has to play better. Alabama has to play better. And I think despite all these distractions, I like Kalen DeBoer in that environment. I like how their offense, it's still Alabama. And again, if Alabama wins that game, what a Rose Bowl that creates. You'll get Indiana, Alabama out in Pasadena, another chance for Curt Cignetti, which, let's be honest, a lot of national writers, I will pick Indiana. I would pick Indiana to win that game, but some of us will, hey, can they really beat the Crimson Tide? That kind of thing, which the Big Ten hasn't fared necessarily well against them over the years. So
Michigan did okay last year.
They did, but that was a tough game for them, right? Like it took a goal line stand there at the end to win. So I would look forward to that matchup, no question.
Let's see. I rolled past. Texas A&M, Miami. I am going to go Miami. You've got a 24-21 Texas A&M. I'm going to reverse that exactly and go Miami, probably just because Texas A&M is not nearly as strong as people think they are. They have as weak a schedule as Notre Dame does. If they weren't in the SEC, I don't know where they would be. But I'm just hoping Miami sneaks in and takes that one.
Don't hate it, Jim, because as I was doing these picks, I was like, I'm going to pick one of those two, Alabama or Miami, and I couldn't decide. I was being indecisive as usual, and then I do think Miami's going to hang in that game, and if Carson Beck plays the way that he's been playing, their fronts could bother Texas A&M, especially on the defensive side with their edge rushers. Reuben Bain didn't have a ton of sacks, but he did make an impact, and I look at them as a team that absolutely could go in there and win that game, which would set up and it's huge for the ACC, by the way. The conference has been dragged through the mud a little bit the last couple of weeks because of the way their conference championship went. Miami was still the best team in the ACC, and I think they get a chance to show it down at Kyle Field. How they respond in that environment, being at noon versus being in prime time, big difference for the Hurricanes. So I could see it. That's not a bad pick at all.
Yeah, I noticed that. I assume that's just because Oregon plays the primetime game and they're out west. But, yeah, they didn't set those up for TV very well. But Ole Miss and Tulane, 34-19, I think that's as solid as pick as anything. I would totally agree with that and expect that to be the case.
Yeah, I don't know how – I do think Tulane's going to compete, but I really like Trinidad Chambliss and how Ole Miss responds. And it's a rematch to set up a rematch is the bizarre part of this. So we've already seen Ole Miss play Tulane, and we've already seen Ole Miss play Georgia. So I think they get right back into that Georgia game. And there's going to be some dunking on social media because Lane won't be there, and deservedly so. This is good for the Ole Miss players. Really like Trinidad Chambliss. I think they move on, but it's more reasonable than the last time around.
And then Oregon, James Madison, 38-10. Unless that's just a tough – James Madison, we talk about travel all the time. They're going coast to coast, man. They're going from Virginia all the way to the far northwest. And they've got that. Then they get to play in Autzen Stadium, which, yeah, it's a great environment. But I'm going to be honest with you. Been there, been to the big house, been to a lot of places. It's not any louder than Iowa. It's not any louder than other places, but it's loud. And I don't know that they've been in that environment yet. It's a tough place to play, but they're really took it after losing to Indiana. I think they feel like that they've got something to prove. Oregon, that is, and so they really are wanting to get this done.
I mean, they were a quarter away from being, well, I'll say 2 quarters because yes, they did lose to Indiana, but they also escaped from Iowa with a win there.
And Penn State.
And Penn State. How can I forget? I was at that game. So they Dante Moore matured as the season went on. I do like that Oregon football team. I hope I'm wrong about that score though, because I would like to see a more competitive game go into the fourth quarter, and that means that JMU, like you said, they've traveled, they've played. One thing I like about the Dukes is you watch this with Group of 5 schools all the time. When they get ranked, they kind of don't respond well. They were very good after being ranked. They blew out. I think I was picking against them against the spread every week, and they would end up covering. So they responded at maybe in my face somewhat, but they definitely have a really good football team, a good program. This is a good spotlight for them. And as a MAC guy, I'm never going to say you can't have that. Like my dream is to have Ohio University in a 5-12 game and play them wherever, whenever, and I'll track down my roommates, and I know we'd be at that game.
Oh, man. Appreciate it as always. I had a disagreement with some of the chatters on here. They were talking about Fernando Mendoza and that he needs to return for another year, and I really need to clear it up. Is that he needs to return or would benefit from another year? Because there's a huge difference. I would agree with one, not the other. But we shall see. Heisman Trophy winner. That was pretty cool to see that. That's huge for Indiana, by the way, Bill.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. What a moment for the program. What a moment for Fernando. The term Boy Scout gets thrown around loosely, but what a good role model. I have a teenage son. You watch him, tell him to watch what Fernando's doing. You can tell it means so much to him, to the program, all the honors that have come his way. As far as coming back, I hadn't really thought he would. Now that you've kind of thrown it out there, and I just don't think it will happen, but it would be intriguing if he did, because he's definitely in this quarterback class, which is not the strongest one by any means. I think he's going to have a chance to be in the first round, depending on how the combine goes.
Yeah, and Indiana, I think, is going to bring in yet another fifth-year guy and then have Alberto take over the reins there. But if that could be Fernando, yeah, that would be great. I just don't see it, because if you were a projected first-round draft pick, you're gone.
Yeah, and Indiana's found a way to make that work 2 years in a row. I mean, Rourke did a fantastic job. Mendoza did a fantastic job. And now you become a little bit of a destination for a quarterback like that. There's several notable ones already in the portal. I don't know. I have nothing. This would be pure speculation at this point, but like Dylan Raiola is a really interesting quarterback to me in the portal. I mean, because he has the 5-star background. It didn't necessarily work out with Nebraska, but you watch him play and you can see the obvious talents there. And I think, I'm not saying he needs to come to Indiana or anything like that, but a quarterback like that would transfer in, I think you'd see the same results.
The only thing, I think it has to be a 5th-year guy. I think Kurt Cignetti is going to be loyal to Alberto and keep the quarterback recruiting line so he is not competing head-to-head with a guy in his class, per se. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And portal quarterbacks, one thing, the old man in me is saying, why are we having quarterbacks announce that they're signing or staying? Now, in Fernando's case, that would be different. But I'm talking about like sophomores and juniors. I'm like, well, okay, that's why you came to school there. We don't need an announcement to say you've re-signed with the program. This isn't the NFL. If Fernando were to come back for one more year, that would require the announcement maybe, because you could rally around and get super excited, those kind of things. But I'm sure Indiana has a plan moving forward if he doesn't.
Looking forward to it. Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Make sure you're following Bill and keeping up with his content at the Sporting News. It is all top-notch, just like he is. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
Anytime, Jim. I'll talk to you next time. See you later.
Absolutely. Bill Bender joining us here. We've got more coming up. Back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Speed Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along with us. Looking forward to the rest of the week. Steve Wiltfong will join us tomorrow, and we'll talk some football recruiting, as there have been a lot of talk from recruits with Indiana winning the Big Ten championship, with the Heisman Trophy winner in Bloomington. They've won virtually every award. The only award that I have seen so far that Indiana missed on between Fernando and Cignetti is the Football Writers Association Coach of the Year award, which kind of funny, but again, it's not that he, in any other year, Lee's got the runaway winner of the Coach of the Year award. Just not this year. But you know what? Signe doesn't care. Why should you care? But just something to talk about. Hey, don't forget our peeps in Bloomington. If you're coming to Bloomington, great place to catch a game. Bring the kids. They can play games while you watch the game. If you're dad or friends, family, bring the kids. Let them go play games. You watch the games. 3 gigantic wall TVs. Tons of other big screen TVs, over 20. Lots of specials for every game, but including like coming up for the Rose Bowl. 10 wings for $10, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas. It's a great place to gather. Plan your next watch party, birthday party, whatever you got. Sunday is fun day, fun day, fun day. Half price games. So great place. Dave & Buster's in Bloomington over at the College Mall. Tomorrow we'll be talking some recruiting as Steve Whitfall would join us, like I said, from On 3 as these awards year end for Indiana is just really grabbing the attention of guys. And that's what happens. That's why the rich get richer, so to speak. And we've seen programs just get the higher ranked recruits on top of each other because good players want to go play with other good players. They want to win. It's not about the money. Everybody's getting paid. So it's not about the money. Now, they're not turning down the money, don't get me wrong, and I don't blame them. And I'm not saying that there aren't some guys that are going to be swayed by the dollar at the end. I can't imagine that wouldn't happen. But I also think that there are guys that will look at the situation and the value that situation brings in and of itself. Like a quarterback coming to Indiana. It's pretty obvious if you have half a brain, going to Indiana as a quarterback is in your best interest. In the last 2 years, 2 different guys have come in. One is currently playing in the NFL for the San Francisco 49ers. The other one, we'll let you know in the spring. Obviously, a first-round draft pick, most likely. Heisman Trophy winner. So that leads to the top guys are going to give Indiana a top look. And they want to win, but they want to be developed. And obviously, when the proof's in the pudding. As I said, Curtis Rourke, 49ers. Wasn't a first-round draft pick, but he's on the 49ers right now. And I think he is, last time I saw, he was close to being the backup if he wasn't already the backup to Brock Purdy. It matters. And you're going to start seeing a lot more Indiana players at the NFL Combine. You're going to start seeing a lot more Indiana players going into the NFL, a lot more Indiana players being drafted. Guys like Stephen Daly, who slipped through the cracks all year, was only honorable mention in the Big Ten, but was an All-American by other outlets because they didn't get caught off guard. Everybody, for people that did not see his greatness, you got caught off guard and we're looking at prognostications from the season. There should never, ever, ever be a preseason anything of the year award-wise. That is the stupidest now. It is the dumbest, most ignorant thing you can do. There is no way you can now predict individual performance. You can't even predict team performance. So stop Stop with these preseason awards. End it. It wrongly shades perception of people. I mean, it's just like the stupid preseason polls and all that, which are worthless. I mean, worthless. Go back and look at the season 1 or preseason AP football poll. Look at the AP football poll today. Or look at the maybe week 2. Was Indiana ranked in week 2? I don't recall if they were even ranked, if they just outside of the top 25. But the sheer fact that a team could be outside of the top 25 in the same season that they reach number 1 and win the conference championship of the biggest, baddest ass conference that there is shows you the polls don't mean diddly do. But we all know that. And I understand that as well. And part of the reason they're out there is to just stir up discussion. But I don't like those polls. I don't like the preseason polls. They're just not, they're not close to being accurate. You can't be. That's why you heard me at the beginning of the basketball season talk so much about, hey, I don't know what the Big Ten is going to be like just yet. I know Purdue's going to be good. I know Michigan's going to be good. And that was it. You know, I was right about that, but that was it. And you got to wait to find out who did what. What team? Who the hell saw Nebraska being 11-0? I didn't, but they are. So got to enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it. That's another thing. Enjoy the surprise. Yeah, don't wait. Wait until Christmas to open your presents. Should they stop putting out the CFP poll like they do? The thing is, if they don't put it out, there's no chance for backlash. And if you think backlash doesn't happen, yeah, you're wrong. You've got guys in a room that virtually every one of them, not all of them, but virtually every one of them have a vested interest on the teams that go into those playoffs. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're all unbiased. I'm quite certain of that. Kidding. I'm kidding. Man, it is always a fun day to be with you guys. Looking forward to being back tomorrow. Let's see. Anything I missed? I meant to talk about Michigan. I wanted to talk to Bill Bender about Michigan. We're investigating ourselves. Yeah, that's an easy investigation. You have an athletics director who has overseen nothing but a debacle for multiple years. He allowed the people involved in that debacle not only to remain, but to be elevated to the highest possible coaching position. I'm sorry. This is a quick investigation. It's not that simple. I get it, but appreciate you guys. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.